Hello, and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Redefining this whole journey, what we're told we need to do when we want to start chasing fitness, start seeing changes in our body. The fitness industry is dominated by all of these flashy things that are so tempting when we are in a place of not only desperation, but we just are so uncomfortable in our bodies, in our skins, that the latest trendy diet seems like the best thing for us. Emotionally, we know, logically, I should say, we know that it's not the answer, but why do we keep going to it? Based off a conversation I had today, sadly, after a post that I put up on Instagram on coaches that are just trainers. They're not actually there to coach you. They're not helping you through your particular issues. They just slap a cookie cutter program on you. And this lady reached out to me to vent about a coach that she paid so much money for, and she wants to lean up, get strong. The reason she chose this coach is because they had their own transformation. They look really good. Just because I hate saying coaches, what even signifies them as a coach? Because they made a massive transformation for themselves, or they just decided, I want to make money online and transform people because I look like I lift and I go to the gym and this, that, and the other. Because you're playing with people's lives, their health, their hormones, the way they age, how they're going to end up experiencing perimenopause, their future health, and their relationship with themselves and food. And that can be so rocky. She was put on 1,400 calories, wasn't losing weight. She was struggling with it. She was following everything to a T, and the quote unquote coach's response was, let's cut your calories more. And she's telling me that she usually deadlifts twice her body weight. Cutting carbs, getting lean by doing more cardio. If all of this worked, we wouldn't see so many people stuck, frustrated, and spinning their wheels. Like, honestly, stop. Look around, look online, look at people commenting on things. The majority of the world, in a world that is populated by information, we are struggling more than ever. It's not a lack of information. I would argue that a lot has to do with we do not understand what the process in itself looks like. So it's very freaking hard to be patient in it. But we are bombarded by things that hijack our dopamine. We want it now. We compare ourselves to this, to that. I don't know whether you guys have experienced this, and I would love to have this conversation with you. So open it up. Do you feel like yourself and those around you, what you witness is that the world has become a lot more busy? Like there's a lot more urgency for everything and anything. And we have even less time now than ever since lockdowns. I don't know if it's just me. Like we tried to fill that time with all of this stuff that once the world opened up again, we didn't calibrate anything. We just added more stuff to it. So that just adds the sting even more. But it's a clusterfuck. And I want to help you. So that's what this podcast is about. Because it's not cool. It's really not cool to be treated that way, to not have the support you need. And many of the questions that I get, it's a belief that was instilled in them from a prior experience with a prior fitness coach. I get it. You go to people that look like they know their shit, that look like they know their part because they're your age. I've had so many menopausal ladies come to me after prior menopausal coaches that weren't actually coaches. They didn't know how to modify exercises for particular things. Like just because you're a certain age does not give you the right to go coaching women over 50 because you need a particular way to train to allow you to have a body that is thriving and functioning in the future. The biggest overlooked thing in a journey of changing your body isn't adding in more cardio. The first thing is, oh, I need you to burn this much on cardio. It's no, walking and NEAT are the biggest fat burning powerhouses. Your NEAT isn't the same as steps. And if you are slashing your carbs, trying to get by on bird portions, trying to eat little through the day, skipping meals, your metabolism is going to be really damn low through the day. So your deficit is most likely going to have you gaining more fat over time. It's not that the calorie deficit isn't working. It's that the calorie deficit that you calculated that should be your calorie deficit is not a deficit. Kind of like what I spoke about in my last podcast, which is this is the perfect lead on. Because you can be eating 1,500 calories and not be losing anything. because what you eat impacts everything else. And if your gut health is a mess, that lowers your metabolism even more, because if you're not absorbing nutrients properly, you're not what you eat, you're what you absorb. My metabolism, I've noticed as well, is I don't know exactly how much because maintenance is a range, but I have noticed that I'm not at the same high level that I was when I wasn't eating dairy, because I have IBS and I don't tolerate dairy really well, but I eat a lot of dairy because I love it. I do tolerate it, but just not at the amounts that I'm eating. And I know that I should cut that back, but hey, I'm human too, and I have my vices. I'm just blessed that it's not an allergy and something that can be made really extreme. All of these things matter. It's not as simple as here are your calories, you're going to lose weight on this, especially if you have a diet history. And that's why calorie calculators don't work. That's why someone who isn't a real coach is not going to help you get past your plateaus, get you where you need to be. But that shit also takes time. So regardless of whether you get a good coach or not, you're not going to see results if you aren't aware of the fact that you need to be patient with this. You've been trying for so many years. The only shortcut, the only quote unquote hack is this. Otherwise, it's just going to be another however many years of repeating because you keep trying to cut the process short. And body transformation doesn't work that way. So if we get to a place where, okay, we're starting this, I'm going to do a whole podcast on the priming yourself for the results. I just want to do a summary of how this whole thing kind of works. And then I will do a podcast on just the primer phase, the foundation phase, the way to set yourself up for maximum results once you start your journey. But neat movement, being able to fuel your day is going to allow you to move your body more. Like you're going to be a lot more animated. And that is very hard for you to do when you're eating very little calories through the day, when you're hungry. You move like a sloth. But using a step tracker, prioritizing your steps, and aiming for at least 8,000 steps a day is not only beneficial to your metabolism and to your health, but it's also going to allow you to regulate your appetite. It's going to help with cravings, blood sugar levels, with keeping your energy more sustained. First, you might feel like it's a drain on your energy because you're demanding more energy than you're used to from your body. But over time, that shit stacks because you're demanding a lot more energy from your body. It's going to need to up its metabolic machinery to be able to provide more. And the more that you do that at a particular point of time, if you're feeding your body appropriately, you're going to have a bigger metabolic churn. That is what you want for the body that you want. The more that we can build that up, the better. Once you get past 15,000 steps, I wouldn't really say that is all that much worth it. But if you naturally get that in your day, then brilliant. If you think of someone who smashes himself in a HIIT session, probably burn like 150, maybe 200 calories in one of those cardio sessions, you don't really burn all that much, even though your watch says 500 or 300. It's not really all that much extra, like 100, 200, something like that. But if you just increase your activity from 2,000 steps to 8,000 steps, you could be burning an extra 800 calories a day without even having that much effort there, even up to 1,000 calories a day. Fidgeting, cleaning, standing, getting up, moving. What I'm doing now, if you're watching the video, I'm animated, breaking up your sitting time, not just sitting all the time, like even just standing and having your body move around is burning energy more than just sitting down. And if you think about postural muscles, like, yeah, these things aren't huge numbers per se, but the alternative of just slouching like this versus standing up and having some sort of posture, that shit adds up, especially if you're a small female. Small females, this stuff adds up a lot more. While there are a lot of dominating male voices out there or males that point to research, a lot of that isn't on small females, and a lot of that is in a lab. It's not in the context of real life. As small females, we don't have as many calories to play with. Like a huge deficit for someone who is a big male who maintains on 20, let's just say 3,000 calories. He can lose a lot of weight on 2,500 calories. For one of us who maintain on 2,000, most of you will probably be around the 1,700 to 1,900. If you haven't built sufficient muscle mass and you're not active enough, you'll be around the 1,800 to 1,900 mark. If we can get those steps up as well, you'll be mostly around the 2,000 mark. I would put a lot of women who are training hard to build their physique. Once you build up your steps, you'd be around the 2000 mark. To get into that same relative deficit, you'd be on 1500 calories still. And for some women, they do need to go as low as 1100 calories. And that is exactly why you never see the results that you want, because that shit isn't sustainable. And I do have a podcast coming up on small women soon, so I'm not going to go into that there. This is just showing you how important it is for you to tick off these base things. Like, we need to get your movement up. We need to be aware of what it is that makes up your metabolism. Because once you get that, it becomes a hell of a lot easier, especially because of the downstream impacts that it has. Focus on the big rocks first. Knowing that it's not your exercise is the start to everything. Because now we can use your training for what it's for. Building muscle, building strength, and building that capacity for you to build a lean, mean, metabolic machine. I had to make that rhyme in some way. But the stronger you are, the more metabolic you're going to be through your life. The less your metabolism is going to slow down. You can build muscle and still not have the strength there, and your metabolism will not be as robust and as strong as someone who is really strong. Because when you're strong, the gravity is lighter. That's the best way to explain it. You have a lot more energy, the more fit you are. And that's also why I do like implementing some cardio in some clients' plans, but I'm not going to just put it in there. If I feel like a lack of cardio is holding them back, I'll have the discussion with them, because this isn't about me, it's about you. It's empowering you to know what's going to take you to the next step. What do you want to do? But having that there is not only going to allow you to move through life with a lot more vigor, with a lot more strength, but if you can continue doing a lot more quality work in your training, that's going to pay off down the road. You're going to be burning a lot more calories every single lifting session and outside of lifting sessions, because your metabolic burn, your metabolic churn, because your muscles are bigger. The bigger your muscles are, the more you're lifting. We don't, like, muscle damage doesn't grow muscle, but you do create small micro traumas in those muscles. And then that is very calorically expensive to heal up. The stronger you are, the same thing. Whereas with cardio, you burn less calories with that over time. If you're doing an hour of cardio a day, then what you started burning for that diminishes quite a lot as your body gets more efficient. Whereas with strength training, it goes in the opposite direction, which is exactly what we want. So I had the movement part. Let's move to the nutrition part. Yes, protein. Now, I really dislike the new argument that's, you don't really need to worry about getting all that much. If you get X, it's okay. It's like, well, okay, but why are we only relating protein to muscle building when protein is so much more? For women, it's even more important, especially as we age, perimenopause. Bone health, that's going to help with our muscles, and muscles move bones. That's a muscle moving my elbow joint. That's moving my bones. Like, muscles move bones. And muscle stress on the bone, the stress that you create on the bone from the muscle, is going to help with bone density. That's what protein helps with. Protein is also hormones. Your hormones are made out of protein, aside from your steroid hormones, which are made from cholesterol. Your appetite hormones. I could go on about protein, but most of all, it is the most thermogenic. It burns the most calories in digestion. The biggest one, which you would have heard in my podcast on appetite, my solo podcast on appetite, and then we went into it further on my podcast with Calvin, 373. My one is January 2024. Protein keeps you full the longest. And I will go into carbs as well. But protein is going to help increase that satiety curve. So if you're just having fruit or you're just having bread, that isn't going to fill you up in and of itself. If you have protein with it, that's a different story. We can say that carbs increase insulin, but so does protein. It's just that protein does it through a different receptor, dims the curve and makes it a more prolonged satiety curve thing. I'm trying to explain it in terms that you understand. The whole role of glucagon is to release glucose from your liver into your bloodstream so that it increases the blood sugars in your blood, which is a good thing when you're in a fasted state. So when you're in a fasted state, that's what it does to keep your blood levels even. You're in a fasted state pretty much, well, not really fasted, but like between your meals, that's when your blood sugars start to fall, and then you get hungry, you start having cravings. If they fall too low, your energy starts going crazy. That's where the wired, tired, etc. So what glucagon does is if you have that protein, it allows a more steady release so that the insulin secretion from whatever it is that you're eating is a little bit more blunted, and that then holds off cravings, holds off hunger. So then you have a lot more regulation there, and it's beneficial for fat loss, it's beneficial for living lean. And if you then factor what are the benefits of protein in general for everything else with the muscles, with the recovery, a lot of women complain about always being really sore, which you can't avoid if you're not consistent in your training. You will be more sore than usual in your first few months of training because it's a new stimulus. And then as soon as you push harder and harder, it becomes more like that. But you do want to be having that balance of recovery, which then now brings in carbs. Carbs are also very beneficial for satiety. Many carbs are up in the highest on the fullness spectrum, up with protein. Believe it or not, it's with protein. In fact, white boiled potatoes, not adding salt and frying them or oiling them or buttering them, just like plain white boiled potatoes are one of the most satiating foods. And then you can add in lentils, you can add in all of the starchy-ish carbs, the ones that have a lot more volume, the protein, not the proteins, the carbs that also come with a lot more water content. That is going to keep you fuller for longer. So yeah, the reason that I really want to emphasize the importance of this is hunger, regardless of where you are, eating more in maintenance, especially as a small woman, which I'll bring up, eating more in maintenance or eating in a deficit, hunger is one of the biggest things that sets people back, because a lot of us can't tolerate hunger because we've been in calorie deficits our whole lives. It's why you should never start off in a fat loss phase or a calorie deficit phase or have fat loss on your mind if that's all you've been focusing on. We need to rid that diet fatigue. We need to allow you to chase hunger and be okay with hunger, as well as building up all these other things. But at the same time, why is fat loss the default? Fat loss is earned just as much as like a surplus is earned. The goal is to live in maintenance calories, which I'm not even going to just say maintenance anymore. It's maintenance calories, because that's where your body starts to change the most. If you want to push it up a notch, then you can push it up a notch. But you don't want to be depriving your body of the very fuels that it needs to optimize performance. And the only way to get to the body and the physique that you want is to have your nutrition in a way that optimizes for performance, that optimizes for your energy outside of the gym, that optimizes for recovery. Because when your performance is up there, that's when your physique starts to change. And carbs, you may not notice it at first, but if you go from being very low carb with training, feeling really hard, whatever it is, if you go from not really eating with your training to then fueling yourself, you may not notice the differences straight away, but over time that shit stacks, because it's science. Your body needs carbs for muscle. Like, muscle runs off carbs, and the bigger the muscle, the more carbs that muscle can hold in, the better your performance as well. And the bigger your muscle, the more carbs it can store in general, which means that you have better appetite, better glucose control, everything that I said before. But I'm not talking about muscle right now. I'm talking about carbs. And if you do literally, but the carbs part of this is you get to fuel these muscle machinery, and that leads to you increasing your metabolism just by eating more carbs. Because now you're more active, you're going to be fidgeting a lot more. You are literally a lot more alive when you have your body's prime fuel source. It helps you with recovery as well. And if you aren't having enough protein or carbs or food after your training session, you may notice that your appetite later on through the day, you are a bottomless pit. There are some people that just have suppressed metabolisms, like I was meant to say suppressed appetites, because of the lifestyles that they live, until one day it's too late and then you're overeating, and then that lasts for a few days, and then you're chronically hungry for a while, and it just becomes a spiral, which is why you need to be proactive and not treat a lack of appetite as a badge of honor because now you can eat less. It's so important. We touched on the movement in general. We touched on the nutrition in general, saying about the more muscle that you have, the more carbs that you can use. A lot of the issues that we struggle with as women is not due to having too much. Well, yes, it is due to having a lot of body fat for many of us. If you are over the age of 30, even 35, you are under-muscled, because muscle wasn't a thing back then. And when you are under-muscled, you are not going to get the definition you want, no matter how much you diet, you are not going to feel as good as you want to feel if you don't have that muscle there. Focusing on building strength and building muscle, like I mentioned at the very start, that's allowing you to have a lot more calories as a wiggle room, a lot more buffer calories when you go out to eat, without building a strong base of training, of strength, of learning how to train, of moving your body well and learning how to push that to the intensity that you need and start to build real muscle tissue. That's just like trying to build a house without a foundation, or even on a weak foundation. You can paint the walls all that you want. What's that going to matter if you're spending all of this money and time wasted on making a house look so pretty to only realize that you never spent long enough to build the foundation? That's where a lot of people go wrong. And that's why when you look around, so many people are stuck. The leanness is a completely different ballgame. And impatience, like I mentioned, is the hardest thing to work with. So we need to find ways to get you excited about your lifting, which is very hard to do when you're writing your own programs or just downloading random shit without seeing a purpose or a progression scheme moving forwards. It's why I did group training a while ago, as in I used a group training app a while ago because I was in the process of moving and I was just using my coach as my mentor. So I've always had a coach regardless. It's just because it was extremely expensive. I'm like, I just want you as my mentor for now. I need to like guide around with some things. So I had a group training program and I realized that I could not do it. I had to push through those few months of just getting through, and I didn't feel like it was personalized. I didn't feel like I was buying into it all that much. And like, this isn't what I want. I was changing things that were written on the program. Yeah, you need strategy with the muscle and you need to learn how to train right with the form, with the technique, and you need to find a way to get excited about the forward progress, to have training goals and to have your program designed for those training goals. Then you're going to get excited. It can be as simple as getting excited on a few of your leg exercises because you want to build your legs, but you don't turn a scale obsession into a logbook obsession, because your numbers aren't always going to be going up either. You need to be okay with that too, especially on things like the leg curl and the leg extension. Like leg press, yes, that can be something that you chase. But again, this comes to what is it that you want to build, and realize that it's periodized. You can't just keep pushing something. A lot of the things that hold us back aren't the actual exercise itself. So it's not just more max squatting that's going to get me better at squatting. It's I need to work on whatever weaknesses are stopping me from getting better at that squat. And then from there, it's literally just the fact that I haven't got the strength there yet. And that takes time to build. Past your first 4 to 6 weeks, that's when progress starts to slow. And that's usually when people change exercises and say it doesn't work anymore because it's boring to people that don't have a purpose in their training. So if you feel soft and lack definition, or you've lost weight before, or you're up and down and you feel like you're just getting softer over time, or your belly's getting bigger over time, or you just feel huge, it's not the muscle that's doing that. It's the lack of muscle. It's the lack of focus on the right things and staying in maintenance and treating maintenance calories more seriously than the diet calories. Well, yeah, you want to treat the diet calories seriously because you need to be meticulous in a diet. You don't want to overstay it. But if you just stopped dieting and put all your focus into optimizing for your performance and taking that far, when you put yourself into a fat loss phase, you're going to finally see something to reveal. But that isn't a 6-month thing. Like, you need to give yourself time. I see so many women also gain weight back quickly. It's not muscle that they gain. It's fat because of the fact that they did not do the process properly. And you don't want to be like that. You want to get as strong as possible. You want to optimize for performance. You want to set yourself up for life. And it doesn't have to be as hard or grueling or time consuming either. Not if you have a smart program. And it doesn't mean that you need to go powerlifting and deadlifting shit either. Like, you don't need to squat and deadlift for that. Well, you don't need to back squat and deadlift for that. That's why there's machines. That's why there's a Smith machine. You need to break free from the diet mentality and shift to a performance mentality. Even in fat loss phases, I say have a performance mentality, because once your performance falls, or if you're not optimizing for performance, that's when you start to get softer over time, lose muscle, and everything goes down. It's like, okay, well, your habits, your goals, your habits, your actions are all directed towards the fat loss thing, but you're still optimizing for performance. If we optimize for the scale going down or us shrinking, the actions that are needed for that are not the same as the ones needed to build a lean physique, to enhance your physique, to then reveal what is there. Because it will reveal it until it doesn't, and then it just becomes going in the opposite direction. Dieting year round without ever focusing on building muscle is the biggest mistake that women make. Every time you do that, lower your metabolism, make weight regain easier, increase your body fat set point, increase your appetite set point. It's not something that we want. When you lose muscle mass, you increase hunger, appetite, increase the bias of fat gain, not muscle gain. And then that's when people think that another diet is the answer. So then you stay in this place where you're never really building muscle and you're never really losing fat and you're not really recovering really well, because deficits and everything that you're doing is a constant stress on your body. And then your mindset around it all is a constant stress on your body. It's not what you're doing this for. So always remember what your goal is, what your North Star is, and be patient in that process, because muscle is a much longer, harder thing. And it's hard to stay the process if you don't have someone stopping you from stopping yourself. Talking to myself, I don't know if I would even have this body if it wasn't for my coach, because the amount of times that I wanted to sabotage myself and cut my calories and et cetera, it wasn't until probably 16 months in that I was just like, I never want to diet again. I love food too much. I started to really just love where I was. But I did diet, obviously. And it surprised the hell out of me, because after struggling so much in my life to get the scale to go down, I was surprised at how fast it was moving down. I was surprised at how much easier it was for me to eat in the deficit that I created, which was like hundreds of calories higher than where I was, because so many of us are so down-regulated. Once you regulate that up and build up the NEAT, like I mentioned, you're more metabolically active. Just from being more active. Like I mentioned, the protein, carbs, the performance, the NEAT, the fueling yourself, the steps that you track, all of that stuff matters. So I will be talking a lot more on the pre-diet phase, but that part of starting away from a calorie deficit, no matter what you do, is the only way to cut the cycle, break the cycle of burnout, of hormonal dysregulation, of your impeded metabolic flexibility, which is not a good thing, because that's when you have the cravings, the energy ups and downs, the weird appetites. That's when you break the cycle of frustration, extreme frustration, and the repeated weight up and down that leads to more fat gain over time and muscle loss over time. So starting with maintenance is the most important thing there. And we need to try to reframe your mindset around the fear of gaining weight. Technically, if you do it right, you should not be gaining a lot of fat. You can't force feed muscle growth. It's just that weight fluctuates and you're going to feel fuller, and training really hard. And just being a woman, there's a lot of water fluctuations, and that weighs something. And eating more carbs weighs something, and eating more food weighs something. If we keep tying ourselves to the scale and wanting results now without setting ourselves up for it, we are not going to have long-term flexibility. And we're going to keep having this terrible relationship around food, guilt around eating more, a fear of eating more. That's just going to keep us stuck in this cycle of burnout, of dieting, if we're not able to put ourselves into that abundance mindset by getting rid of that diet fatigue. We're going to stay stuck in the same cycle. What if eating more actually is the key to looking leaner, feeling stronger, having more energy, powering your potential? So if you are sick of spinning your wheels with this shit, please, it's time to change your focus. We need to bridge this gap. Where you are now to where you want to be. From restrictive eating, dieting, food focus, wanting results now, up and down, not able to stick to the plan. You start the week off really good and then you fall off, whatever it is, to seeing this as a way forward. I'm not focusing on weight loss anymore. I'm focusing on where I am now. I'm setting myself up. What are the big needle movers? I want to chase energy. I want to feel really good again. I want to feel strong. I want to start to find ways that I can enjoy the gym. I want to start putting more effort into noticing how things feel, taking my time through my workouts. I want this to be something that allows me to feel strong, confident, and capable. Not restricted, not hungry, frustrated that I'm busting my ass and not seeing results, because we do not want that. We do not want the guilt and shame. We do not want the fear of food. We want to enjoy the process, and we want to be able to have a little bit more flexibility in our food so that shit doesn't just stick to us. I want you guys to reframe progress and find ways that you can start to celebrate yourself. Even research has shown that those that maintain their journeys and keep their results. It's about having performance-based goals. The people in the study were actually ones that needed to lose a lot of weight, and they're the only ones that lost all of the weight they needed to lose and kept it off because they had these other things to chase. Whereas the usual person is like, okay, well, I have weight loss goals. Then what? You haven't learnt anything in the process. Nothing was built in the process. So you're going to fall back to the old scaffolding that was there before. That's what this is all about. It's about focusing on shit that can start to excite you, building strength, building muscle, while we're changing the scaffolding of everything else so that it is renovated. Track your progress, incorporate movement, and think about what future you would be saying to you today. Kind of like using that tool in my goal setting podcast, the letter that your 80-year-old self would be writing to you right now. What would your 80-year-old self write on that note? Or even if your life was a movie right now, what would people be screaming at you? What would they be screaming? What would they be telling you to do? You know, when you're watching a huge, what's the climax thing and you're yelling at the TV, like, do this, what would they be telling you to do? Love you all, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments below, because you can comment on either YouTube or Spotify, or shoot me a message on Instagram, TransformXRuby. I love you all, and I will talk. You will see me in the next podcast.